Hello, good morning.
Good morning. It's good afternoon. How are you doing,
Yeah,
Rockstar?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
I'm fantastic.
Good, good.
Yeah. What's new?
Let me turn this other thing off. I want to make sure that it was actually streaming to YouTube like it's supposed to. It's working. And then I had an echo. I was like, who's talking? Oh, that was me.
Hold on. I messed up my speakers.
I hope you don't mind. I actually invited Monica to join us as well.
Cool.
Let's
Cool.
see. She should be coming on here in a minute.
She was just on a coaching call, so
Hmm, nice.
with Amy. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Hello, Danny.
Okay. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Good. Do you go by Danny or Dan or Daniel?
Danny's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Big
Danny
D.
works. Big D.
right. we did our
More
um, we did our
lowercase.
tactical talk webinar last night, and
Ooh.
yeah, technology is very challenging. We never did get the Facebook live stream to work. I've decided we're just not going to do live stream on Facebook anymore. You know what? Just
Boom.
I can't do this anymore. They keep on like I'll be messing with it and it's distracting and it never actually works. So we'll just do YouTube now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are familiar with uh, technical difficulties.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like YouTube anyway. I like the platform better.
I do too.
I
I
do.
think that you
Yeah.
can reach more people that are not talking over top of each other. Like the purpose of YouTube is to like go on there and watch videos, not to fight each other out in the comments section so much.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of our audience winds up on Facebook, just the age demographic. There's more of them
Yeah.
there. So we do get a pretty big audience that way. But yeah, I hate Facebook. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. The evil empire.
terrible. Yeah. Yep.
I
Um,
have not used it for the. I really haven't used it that much, and truthfully, I don't get it. I like it. For me, LinkedIn, I've spent all my time. It's so intuitive. It's just easier.
mhm.
But Facebook, I'm just like, where'd this go? Where's this comment? I'm like, this is
Yeah.
so stupid. It's really not that complicated, I'm sure, but I'm making it harder. Like I'm, 100 years old.
Monty's still talking to Tom from MySpace.
Yeah, but hey, he's a
Oh
good
God,
dude.
no way.
Yes, he's a good dude.
Hey, I'm your friend from
So
MySpace.
yeah,
Yeah. Good times. Right on. Well, let's go ahead and dive in a little bit.
Let's do
For
it.
those of you, for those of our audience that don't know you, I'd love to get a bit of a background. I can go one by one, or you guys can just kind of trade off how you answer. Doesn't matter to me. Whatever feels good. Um, but yeah, tell me your backstory a little bit. You're with ADB Nation, which I just love that name. A different breed
yeah.
is perfect for what you're trying to build here. But tell me how this all came about.
I don't know. Did he freeze? Did he? He might have froze.
No, that's a nap.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so my name is Monty Bynum, and I spent 32 years in public service, both military and law enforcement. Uh, whole time I had some businesses, and at the end of it, I was mostly in law enforcement. And as I was hitting the twilight of my career, I realized, hey, these guys need a little bit more. They need community. They need better training. They need people that really actually care and really advocate for them and don't give a damn, but focus on them. Quite frankly, I didn't know that we had a crisis in leadership. And because I was a cop first, then went to the Marine Corps and got professionally trained how to lead, and then came back to law enforcement. And I just assumed, truthfully, pretty naively, that everybody did it the way the Marine Corps did it. Everybody led that way. Turns out that's not the case, especially in law enforcement. So had a friend about a year and a half ago said, "Hey, you guys should do something about this and help these guys get better training and get access to a community." And started putting that together. Met up with Danny, just synergy, and said, let's do this." And so rather than just talk about it, we're going to be about it and take action. So that's my story. That's my half of
Okay.
it.
Okay. Yeah. So you just saw a need and decided to fill that gap.
Yeah, yeah, exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. um,
Nah.
it's both of us are building something because we felt let down by what was already out there. We have certain
Yeah,
expectations that we're like, okay, this is not at all what's actually happening, and someone needs to do something about this. And looking around, like no one's doing anything about it. And something that I struggle with is that I don't see another business that can be kind of my role model, so that I can model my own business after it and be like, well, what are they doing that works? I don't see
yeah.
that for my own business, and I find that challenging. Do you have that
Right.
same issue at all?
So I had the benefit of, like I said, um, when I was baby cop, had a great mentor said, you better get another, you better get a side hustle. So, it, I have had some pretty good experience, growing businesses and doing all that. And I had some great mentors and coaches and realized I need to really focus on the vision of what we want to build and not on what everybody else is doing. And we had some examples of, hey, they're doing sort of what we like, and hey, they blew up, and let's stay away and not do what they did. But I have a great team, and we're focused on the mission of what that is and serving those people, and try not to get like distracted of. Um, it has a lot to do with the team helping
Yeah.
me stay focused and us as to what we're growing, and it kind of falls into place. So
Yeah. Yeah. Meeting the other people that are like minded is the best part of what we do.
yes,
Speaking
yes,
of, hello, Monica. Welcome.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good. Good.
fantastic.
Hi, Monica.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm great.
I think she's good.
I think I double checked like 5 times to make sure I was in the right place at the right time because time change and all that fun stuff. I'm like, all right, I'm
Oh.
good. I'm waiting. I'm here.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So Danny, how about you? How did you come into the fold? Because you have quite a diverse background.
Well, yeah, I got into the ADB Nation by hooking up with Monty. We were LinkedIn buddies for a couple of years because I was starting to transition out of law enforcement. I had been there for about 20 years by the time that he and I had hooked up online, and at that moment, I was seeing that it was coming to an end for me at my agency, which was, it's inevitable. We're all going to retire at some point, so I kind of had the game plan of, oh, well, I'm going to have my retirement plan and things like that and pension. And then as I got closer to the finish line, the realization was there that that was just not going to be sufficient for me in my, for my wants and needs. So I got online. Monty and I had hooked up. And then over last summer, he presented me with this enormous opportunity to join him in this venture to really upgrade the profession of law enforcement. Um, I had been involved in law enforcement for 23 years, 22 years at the time. I'm a third generation cop in the city of Philadelphia. So I saw a lot of the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys that particular agency went through. I knew that what the officers needed at the ground level. I was in patrol my entire career. I spent 17 years as a police officer and then was promoted to the rank of sergeant and spent another 5 or 6 years there. So I knew what the troops on the ground needed and exactly what Monty articulated uh, as far as leveling up what we're doing, professionally and personally. What are we doing out there? And to what you said, there was no roadmap there, which is challenging, of course. But then it's also, we step into the idea, and Monty can speak to more of this as far as we get to do this, right? So no one's been there before. So we're trailblazers. Lewis and Clark, if you would, that also means that we're going to have to also cut down those trees and make that path for everyone. We can't just sit there and be stagnant. So that's kind of how I got involved in this. Roof, roof.
Hello. That's amazing. So was there a moment when you guys knew that there was real synergy there between the two of you?
Yes,
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
yeah. Go ahead, Monty.
Yeah, I mean the way it just that's what it's all about. Everybody that works here is we have to have the same core values and speak the language, and not just speak the language, but really step into it and be it and live it. And that's within an hour actually talking and sharing about his vision and what it is for him to lead his troops. I was like, okay, that's it. That's what I want. That's what I need. That's a guy that actually still lives it, believes it, in a city that's not always nice, still super positive and super. Again, I had one thing that really hit me was a story of an officer that eventually came back around as a potential instructor, and he's talking about like how thankful he was to be mentored by Danny, and despite his own interest, Danny's like, "Hey, look, this is not the agency for you. I'm going to help you get to another place." And that is what it's all about to be a leader. And I was like, man, that's the dude I want, come with me, helping me build this. So
Yeah. So servant leadership.
absolutely 100%.
Talk about that a little bit more.
Everybody's so uptight. What is going on? Everybody has straight smiles, but they're like,
Well, servant leadership to me means that you have the ability to impart knowledge onto to those that are coming behind you, to literally pass the baton to them, and say to them, here's what I went through. Here's how you can traverse the landscape moving forward. It's once again, it's imparting your knowledge, and it's ingraining in them the idea that leveling yourself up and educating yourself and becoming better than who I was. I want the officers that are coming out there, in sort of a parental way. I want them to be better than me. Of course I do. I want them to be better in every single aspect, mind, body, and spirit, so that they could advance forward, as I grow older and out of this business. When I'm calling 911, I want someone better than me showing up. Of course I do. The landscape has changed. I want nonstop, elitism going on out there in our industry. Has to be, because the criminals are getting better.
Are they? I don't know.
Well, we're just catching the dumb ones. That's what someone said to me the other day.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
What'd you say? There's
We're
plenty
still
of dumb
too
ones
smart to
still.
be dumb right now. We haven't really elevated our game, but yeah.
Yeah. Monica, feel free to chime in. I'm just going with it. So if you have something to add, please.
Yeah, I can chime in on what Daniel was saying. I think it's where we've been there, done that, and we're trying to pave our own way as far as knowing what we know a lot of what doesn't work. Unfortunately, hopefully we have good examples to pull from too of what does work, and maybe you can even take that and make it even better. But unfortunately, a lot of what's holding law enforcement back right now are the things that we know that keep us stuck. But a lot of people don't want to confront it or do anything about it because they're comfy with where things are.
Yeah, the comfy. It's also really difficult to change it.
Yeah, I mean, just a perspective, obviously not the end all be all of perspectives, but I think a lot of admin and leaders, they get up, they promote, they find what's cushy for them, and they don't really care about anybody else around them. It's like, hey, I got my cushy spot, I can kick my feet up. Yeah, I supervise these people, I see them once a week, like. And I don't want to hear from you unless there's a problem, or hey, you missed a comma in your report, stuff like that, where it's like they get up, they're retired on duty is probably the best term to put it, is retired on duty, or they're just so miserable that they just don't care in general, which is unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that you get people that are so scorned and miserable who have leadership positions, and they're not able to help anybody else because they've gone too far down a path that they can't even help themselves with.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Monica, just real quick, can you, or go ahead?
No, I was just going to say, I used to get super agitated by when we would use the term like leadership, especially in law enforcement, because in the Marines it means something completely different. It means it's completely flipped, that I am, more responsible to my troops than they are to me, and it's my duty to do everything possible to get and put them in play in situations to succeed. Everything they need, it needs to come through me. I need to be focused on making sure that they benefit and look after their needs and take them where they need to go. And like Monica was saying, it's unbelievable. Like, that's the whole thing. That's why they want to get promoted, not for how they want to serve. It's like, because I don't have to go out, and you'll hear them, and they don't even realize what they're saying. Oh, I don't have to answer the call anymore. I don't have to take accident reports. I don't have to go to that domestics. It's very few that really want to lead and share their knowledge and train these guys better and move this whole industry further. And it's so funny, having a bad leader in the Marine Corps is the exception. Here, it's the rule in law enforcement, and it's because of our culture. We have talented people like Danny and Monica coming into this because they want to serve. They found, like, I love this. It's great. I get to work with people and help them be outside and have this great career. And then you got, like you said, you got two sides: one that knows how to work the system, and the other that is trying to better the system. And those guys know how to get up there and have a nice cushy spot and not work any harder.
Right.
And it's a responsibility to do that. You gotta earn it every day for your people. So
Yeah, definitely. And you're pulling in all kinds of people right now for ADB. Can you this would be a question for both of you guys, but describe the kind of person that belongs with a different breed?
It's an excellent question. Passionate. They
ooh,
have to be
that's a
passionate.
good one right there.
I can find it. We've gone through hundreds of people over the past 6 months or so, and many of them are extremely talented. They have the knowledge, they have the skills, they have the experience. It's wonderful. That's great. But they don't have the passion for this industry. And it's very easy to identify the people that are fired up about going out there and pouring into others, about being servant leaders. You can see that right on their face. You can see that they exude that. And when they speak about their students, when they speak about the people that they're taking care of, that they're educating, that they're leveling up, you could see it in their face, and it's very, very easily identifiable. So when you see somebody's resume, great, that's fantastic that they've ranked up or done all these exciting, wonderful things. When you speak with them and you engage with them, it's very quickly apparent that some people are just not cut out for doing that. Not at our standard. They can go work somewhere else, but they're not coming here to work.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the people that are coming inside, we also want them to have a whether they know it or not, you know, that leadership quality. Really, that's what law enforcement is all about. At every level and every facet of what we do, whether it's, again, patrol, detectives, executive, dispatch. Everybody's a leader at some point, but again, we've never been taught that. We've been taught leadership is management, and no, leadership is something completely different. And we're taking care of each other, and we're taking ownership. I'm responsible to Monica showing up squared away, ready to go, making sure that I'm accountable to her, vice versa. We're teammates, blah blah blah. All these things that they don't. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I have no idea. So
it's amazing.
those are the type of people we want, like-minded individuals that are driven, that want to be in, together, and be like, damn, I love learning from, Monica. I love learning from Danny. I love they were sharing me about how to be a great supervisor, or, all this. That's what we want. We don't want complainers. It's funny how we'll get a brand new car and we'll complain about, ooh, this car stinks. What? They'll find a way to complain. Yeah, car smell. So.
Yeah, that's a personality type in itself. Just love to complain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So of these aspects, do you think these are things that can or should be taught, or is it assimilation via culture that they can best learn?
Ooh, that's an excellent question.
Those people are there. They're ready.
Right?
They're ready. Because it's fun.
Yep.
Yeah. So I apologize if I hopped on a minute or two late. I was running off another call. But do you mind if I give a quick intro? Just
Please,
kind of
yeah, go
set
ahead.
up my story and what I'm saying here. Have some context to it. Yeah, so I'm Monica Crawford. I own 50 Fierce and Fit. It's an online nutrition, fitness, mindset, and leadership coaching company and program. It initially started for female first responders. I'm now working with all women in male-driven fields. And I teach and speak keynote speeches for law enforcement, first responder conferences. So I'm not helping the guys too. I market to the women, so it's not just specific to them. I also wrote a book called Thriving Inside the Thin Blue Line, which talks about my challenges in law enforcement, many of those that you often see on an Instagram meme, but are not confronted or improved. Calling out those things, calling out the red flags for chronic stress, toxic work environment, and then learning and teaching others how to mitigate those things, giving them the power to take back their control, and trying to tie the thread of maybe like 15 minutes of more sleep tonight is going to help you become a better leader, because you're taking back your control of what the change that you want to make and the person you want to be, and you're implementing these things that I coach as far as your self-care, your sleep, your nutrition, what to eat, how to fuel yourself for your job and activity demands, especially for the women who want to show up and have that confidence and that command presence, which sometimes takes a little bit more love from the back end of, hey, you can do this, we just need to get you there, and really show up as who you want to be in law enforcement. Those, my clients and who I coach, when I start telling them about a different breed, all I have to do is say the name. They're like, hey, this makes sense. And then I send them the website and they're like, they're reading my mind. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I need to learn a little bit more about that marketing skill, about how they like dig into people's minds and find these people. Like, I need to learn from that on the business side of things a little bit more, I think. But the people are there. I think they're just in the bushes, and they keep getting beat down and beat down and beat down. And then it gets to the point where they're like, well, why am I here? I'm not making a difference. I'm not fulfilling my own purpose. That was me in the agency that I left, and that I tell my story about. I came to a point where I was like, there's no point in me being here anymore. I'm not being fulfilled. I'm being treated like crap. I am not respected. I'm not valued. I'm not supported. It's time to find another solution for me. So you have those people that want that. I'm one of those people. I'm hoping to help find those other people. ADB is doing the same thing. So it's, those people are there. They're ready. They need the right people. One of the things I say is we rise by lifting others, but first we must lift ourselves. Like, I always envision like having those people that literally will reach down into the trenches and pull those people up who want to be better, who want to grow, who want to inspire. That's one thing I inspire and I aspire to do, to inspire other people. And ADB is doing the same thing too.
I love that. And by the way, so if you haven't read her book, you need to get her book, and and start tracking her and watching her, because I've been watching, and the post inspired me to write a post for LinkedIn. It's coming out. There you go. It's atrocious what happened to her, and what seemed, again, Danny and I, hey, we're dudes. We didn't have, we weren't privy to what happened to these women. It's ridiculous, but that's a whole nother subject. But she brought up a great point about why are we not doing an after action? What's going on with these guys when we have folks that commit suicide? Why we're not doing it is because we're not committed and we're not focused, and we don't really care. We don't take any ownership. These guys come in, they have to pass all these psychological tests. They're good to go. So what's happened between now and then? Something that happened on the job, and we should take ownership. We say take responsibility of that. And
Well,
why
I'd
we're
love to
not
dive.
saying,
I definitely want to dive into what you're saying there. Yeah, because, and
Yeah.
I'm sure each case is very individual, but is there
Yeah.
something common, that's some kind of common thread that all these officers have that's going through their hearts and in their minds that's driving them to commit suicide, that you think?
I think Monica could talk about this, but like what I hear with a couple in we talk to a couple of the folks is hopelessness, and like, you took my purpose away. So Monica, if you want to kind of go more into that.
Yeah, I mean, I never got to the point of suicidal ideation, and I approach these conversations around mental health with such care and compassion, because I don't want to blanket statement something. because it's very multi-layered and multifaceted, right? So I don't want to come across as I know everything about the situation, because quite honestly, a lot of times we're limited to our own experiences, and that's not something I've had a direct experience with. So I acknowledge all of that. From an outside perspective looking in, this last week was probably the most heartbreaking one. And literally, I opened this up at 9 o'clock at night and wrote this post for LinkedIn like 30 minutes later, because it had been on my heart for a little while. And I was a little timid to dip my toe in the pool as far as approaching the topic. But Chicago police had a 33-year-old female who took her own life inside of her own precinct. The building that she reported to every day was her home base, inside of that building. And I can't even imagine, one, being in that position where you feel that's what needs to happen, and two, being the officers who work out of that precinct, going back to work, there's crime scene tape around it, you can't go in that room, like, and then having to go back and use that room after it's all said and done, and everything's been taken care of, for lack of a better term. You still have to go back to that place every day, and knowing what happened and knowing that person and working directly with them. The thing that I see is that we don't check on each other. Like law enforcement in general, it's become a very dog eat dog world. Yes. And that's what I experienced. One of my direct experiences was losing myself in order to please others. I lost who I was trying to chase a carrot of whatever standard they woke up and decided they were going to implement that day. And it was a losing battle. It was, one thing was right by one shift. That same thing done on another shift was incorrect. Something approved by one sergeant was incorrect. That was approved by another sergeant. You had a group of officers who always bitched about something. You had the people who I trusted and went to that were like, don't worry about that, you're doing fine. So it's in this giant world that's like a tornado swirling around you. You're like, what do I do? Should I be confident in who I am? Am I like, do people really want me here? Like, what's my end game? And then it got even to the point where I realized my opportunities were being controlled. And that's, my time and my opportunities were too hard nosed for me. I've learned this. Too hard nosed that I will put my foot down. I started ruffling feathers just by speaking up and being who I am. I give my disclaimers of I might ruffle your feathers. It's not intentional. It's just kind of the personality you get with Monica. I couldn't get into FTO. They wouldn't let me. There was a big old dog and pony show about their special response team that they created as a response to the George Floyd riots and all of that stuff. I got blocked from both of those opportunities when I knew damn well that I was highly qualified, more so than some of the people who they chose. And then I think the last one was I was trying to move out to the training unit, and that got blocked by another female captain who didn't want me out there. So I was like, again, like you talk about losing your purpose. I felt at that point I didn't have control over my career. And for me, that's like my hard line where I'm like, nope, you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep telling you no until I get the yes that I'm looking for. So I say all that to say if anybody is in that place, the least we can do is check on each other and quit tearing each other down. Quit finding something to nitpick about. Quit carring up door to door with somebody and all you do is bitch about who did what yesterday and who did what this day and chuckling about, oh, that person screwed up today. They're an idiot. Laughing about them, making fun of them, tearing them down. Why not? Hey, buddy, how's your family? Tell me something your kids did. Like, tell me something about your personal life. A good example I'll give is there was one time I did that where I checked in on a guy. He was former Marine as well. He was somebody who I respected, didn't really have a like, we weren't ever close, but just who he was a decent guy to be around, fairly knowledgeable. It was just a good guy to bounce ideas off of every once in a while we work calls with. Well, there was one day everyone's like, God, he's being a dick. Like he screamed at me. He did this, da, 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 da. And I was like, I mean, yeah, he can be, but that's also a little out of character. Like a little too much out of character. And so I met up with him that day. I said, hey man, how you doing? I had to put my dog down last week. Okay. That's a tough thing to do. That week he had changed his profile picture to his dog.
Yes.
Like it's simple stuff where you're like, okay, like you pick up on we're trained to pick up on small cues with people's behavior.
Right.
When it comes to a domestic or a report call or fill in the blank, whether somebody's going to shoot us or not, why don't we pick on behavior cues from the people we work with every day?
Wow. right?
Because we don't really have a vested interest, really, and we're not really. To your point, it's easier just kind of walk on and let each other. We're lying to each other, you know. People are having a hard time struggling with different things instead of because to your point, that's going to be put in that bag of ammunition to use against Monica or Danny or instead of saying, "Hey, we are all responsible for this team, and that's the mission. That's what we're focused on. That's the leadership that we're talking about. It is your responsibility to check on each other. Me as the leader, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to know, what's going on in their life. It is, we're in the human being business, but we treat each other like robots, and we expect us to go outside and then treat people like humans. It is this cognitive dissonance going in our heads. I don't get this. I don't really. I mean, how can we even operate on a day to day when we have, to Monica's point, it's not just like the standards are changing. The rules are completely mixed up. We don't have a culture. We don't have a standardized culture. What we're trying to do. So
Yeah, I'm always frankly appalled at how self-centered and selfish most people are.
mm,
Um, I'm a pretty private person, but
yeah,
I'm very observant as well, and so I notice when something changes with somebody. I don't have
yeah,
a lot of people that are close to me, and I
yeah.
work with probably 30 people on a given shift when I'm dispatching, and I can't believe how many people will just come to me and just spill their guts, but nobody ever asks how I'm doing. And if they do,
Hmm.
it's so they get a chance to talk about themselves. Where if someone actually listens to me, I'm weirded out. Or if they ask me for more details, I'm like, you really want to know? It's weird.
Yeah.
But I think that's super common and it needs to change. But how do you change something like that? Because if someone really just wants to, one, complain about their life, and two, only talk about themselves, do you teach them not to do that? Because I can just not engage. But what else can we do about this to change the culture?
Well, Monica brought up an interesting point. If you notice the language that she said, and we're so used to the bar being so low, and being like, hey, well, that's kind of what we expect, or it's what we accept. Our standards are so low, it's ridiculous. We've got to raise the standards. They've got to be much higher. This is a very serious business, what we're doing, and we've got to be. We're such amateurs at how we do this. It's just like unbelievable. Um, to me, it doesn't like our thought process on how we set things up, like peer support. But we don't have any real. I mean, like, what are we trying to do? Is it check in a box? I don't really think it's going to be very effective. It's in house. I just told Danny my secrets, but now he's looking at me strange, and is he giving everything up, or, what I mean? Like it's not very thoughtful. It's just like, we're still very amateur, and if we were really vested, if that was the mission, to have the very best police force, you know, that was healthy and driven with healthy individuals going out there and doing our primary job, crime fighting, we would approach this much differently. But we're amateurs. To Monica's point, everybody's coming after their self-interest. Hey, this is a good, just like politicians. That's the greatest racket.
Hmm.
I'm going to get elected. Like, you can't tell me, boo. So,
Yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
to, yes, to your point, can we change it? Absolutely. We got to make the other thing toxic.
Yes.
And so no one's spoken about it. No one said, "Hey, that doesn't seem right." We're all very good at like accepting what they give us instead of saying, "Hey, we're super talented." You know, this is an industry where you could have somebody that's graduated high school and someone have a PhD. My last agency, we had 5 PhDs in the GBI. Most of us, you had to have at least a degree. Most of us had masters, and so they're not stupid people. They're driven people on top of everything else, and they're quick thinkers, but yet they're pushed down at such a level and not led well. Just creates all this trash, and we could do it much better. We just have got to we have to have the right leaders in place to say, okay, we're not doing it that way. It's thankful. I'm thankful that we have people like Monica and Danny in this industry, because if we didn't, this would be a real dumpster fire. and we just, well, they'll figure it out. We hired pretty well, regardless of the fact we didn't invest in them and give them extra training to handle this really, really well. They'll figure it out. That's the norm.
Yeah.
Instead of, hey, I got super guys, and if I don't invest, they're out of here. They're going to another agency. But that's what's starting to happen. And you asked, how do we change it? Well, we have elevated leaders that start to realize, hey, if I'm just a little bit better than them, and I start to invest in my team all the way around and empower them, I don't have to give them. It's so funny when these people say, well, we got to give them bonuses. They're not doing it for the money. You don't know who you're hiring. Now, money's nice, but if you bring it to them and you turn them into employees, that's what they're focused on.
Yeah. Well, and you guys work with a lot of people that are already kind of leaders in their field because they stand out. But what would be some action items or some advice that you could give to a first responder who really wants to move into a leadership role but doesn't know how to do that?
Pick up a book.
Ooh.
Pick up a book.
Self-education.
We have not spent enough emphasis on higher education to what Monica was saying. We have to educate ourselves. If the agency isn't going to pay for you to go back to school, then get your degree on your own. Go back there, pick up a book. There's plenty of books out there. Don't just study for promotional purposes. Study for your own self-interest. There's one of the books that I like is, How to Make Friends and Influence People. That will solve the issues that we're talking about here to some degree, and at least educate you and say, okay, I know how to have a conversation by listening rather than just talking the whole time. Just at the surface level, you can do that. And it's about taking yourself, your own profession seriously and saying, what can I do to make this landscape better? If nothing, for my own success. And then that branches out into other people. Once you start doing things like that and other people see you, as an example, as a guiding light, they'll follow you.
Love that. Yep. Yeah. Taking ownership and jumping in rooms where I got people like that conversation. I'm like, oh, wow. Let me write that down. Love that. That's exactly right. 100%.
Yeah. Owning your space, right? Being
Yes.
confident
Right.
and just stepping into it. Because you just got to start, even though you're going to feel awkward and like everyone's staring at you and this is not normal for you. But if you don't start, you won't get there. And eventually you have to do it.
Yep. And
I would say even
you could find a place like this. I mean, and I say like this, like especially that's ADB, be around these folks the way they think, and they don't have to agree with you, but they're challenging and their focus is to be better. My God. I mean, by the way, she didn't bring this up, but Monica was a competitive collegiate athlete. What kind of mindset does she have? Getting to know that and be able to really pour into that. Holy crap. People pay thousands to be able to do that. They don't know that, but the opportunity that you have to be able to plug in, hey, do you mind? What's it like to really compete and be at the next level? There you go.
Yeah, definitely. You want to speak to that, Monica?
I would say, just going back to Danny's point, is just investing in yourself, whatever that looks like for you. Invest in your personal growth, invest in your own health, because if you lose that, it's very hard to get back. I speak from experience and working through a lot of my own healing journey and the side effects from that toxic work environment and chronic stress, and work towards being well-rounded. The one thing I think I've learned from being outside of law enforcement is how important things outside of law enforcement are. But as a supplement to what you do, where you're developing a different skill outside of law enforcement that you can directly translate to what you do, or it's just taking care of yourself, having your own hobbies and things you enjoy outside of work. It can be a dual purpose type thing, or it's, hey, I'm building my empire for this career is going to end at some point. And here's my next steps out of that. Heidi Chance, who's an ADB instructor who I got to interview for my podcast, Thriving Inside the Thin Blue Line podcast. She's a great example of that. She talks about how her presence on LinkedIn towards the end of her career she was able to establish herself as a thought leader and build a business. And she's still serving law enforcement from the outside looking in, with human trafficking and money laundering courses, which is really cool to see.
Very cool. Do you guys have some book recommendations or that you enjoy reading and want to steer somebody in the
Moby
right
Dick.
direction?
Moby Dick.
Okay.
Absolutely. Call me Ishmael. Number one
Yeah,
book.
there you go.
You have to read Moby Dick.
I got made fun of. I got made fun of on patrol for reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
That's on my list.
Yes. Just leave that in the car when you go home, and maybe somebody comes in and peeks in and sees it. Yeah.
I was sitting on hospital patrol. I was sitting with somebody in the hospital reading it. Sorry, not sorry.
Wow.
That's funny.
I care about you while I'm reading this book about not giving a fuck.
Turns to him. Yeah.
Hey, there's an asterisk on it.
Yeah. That's funny.
That makes it better.
I got two. So Call Sign Chaos by General Jim Maddox, and then Extreme Ownership. So those two, nice little start. Get your head right. When we start pointing outward, we can't fix that. But if we look inward, look in the mirror, those are the things that we can fix.
Definitely. How do you see your community evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
Love it. So we definitely have some major goals. I would love, where I'd love us to be as far as law enforcement, well over 300,000 domestically. We are getting a lot of folks reaching out from the UK this week in particular. Probably at least 20 to 30, and we think we got it rough. Holy Christmas! Danny had a great interview with some guys over there, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's rough here. It's no doubt it's rough here, but it's crazy over there. And the other thing, we will evolve next year to ADB Fire, because the problems we have here in law enforcement, we also have in fire and rescue. So we will evolve into that and just take it over. So. And it's very common. We also envision things like ADB, wellness, where Monica will be over there and highlight her, just have her doing all kind of cool stuff, getting these people right and healthy and mentally fit. But I mean, we got to get into these fields and have it as Dana likes to say, we got to dominate to change the narrative. If we just so used to kind of letting it take whatever they give us, hasn't worked out well. Just assuming, hey, if we do our job and take what they give us, they're going to reward us and it's going to work out well. And next thing you know, wait, that guy, why is he getting promoted? I don't even. When's the last time he even used his handcuffs or did anything, or what's going on here? So,
what do you think, Danny? Where is it headed?
I think it's that. I think, well, as far as we're headed, I mean, the ADB Nation is going to be dominating the entire landscape of law enforcement throughout the world. There's no doubt about that. And the reason is because of people like Monica and Monty and the other instructors that we have going in here. We don't have people coming in here that are going to give you death by PowerPoint, which was the training that I unfortunately received for over 2 decades. And my father and grandfather had the same stuff, sticking pins in my eyes in the classroom of somebody that's teaching a class that has no idea what they're talking about. We have real deal people that are out here that have actually locked people up, chased bad guys down the alleyways with guns, and gone after people that have murdered people, have taken the lives of citizens of not only America, but of the world. And they're extremely experienced and they're passionate about what they do. And that rubs off onto the students. And then once they start jumping in the community and having these live engagements where you're able to have these back and forth situations and you're able to access people like Monica, and I can ask her, hey, listen, what can I eat here? Or, advice on training and things like that. It's on such more of a granular level at a compassionate level, rather than just here's your PowerPoint, here's your exam, good luck, go hit the street. Like, what is that all about? You wouldn't do that in any other industry. You wouldn't do that in anywhere else. You wouldn't do that in the nursing field, the doctor field with attorneys. Nowhere else would you just get these checkbox things and then you're expected to do what? Respond to emergency services nonstop? people got guns over here, there's dead bodies over there, and I'm supposed to be responding to these things. And if I don't cross the T or dot an I, I'm the one that's in trouble. It's silliness. That's absolutely silliness. And what we're doing is breeding those people out, pun intended. Those people are going to be out of this industry because we're bubbling this up from the ground up. And we are developing tomorrow's leaders today, right now, in the ADB Nation. And that's what our police culture looks like moving forward.
Awesome. That's awesome. And I love how you bring up being compassionate, but what I'm hearing and what I feel from ADB is compassionate without being soft, because you guys have tough jobs, right? You're tough people with tough jobs, and you're not out here to scream victim or like be nicer to me and not have to earn your stripes. So that's not, you're saying you got to be tough and get in here, and that's where your leadership comes in.
100%. We call it the elevated.
I always tell people,
and that's the peak, the pinnacle of alpha. So that's where we want people to get, to be thoughtful, be compassionate. You don't have to come in there and like a gorilla. You get to walk in a room and actually, be confident and patient. So
yeah.
Sorry.
I always tell my clients that sometimes I give them a loving kick in the ass.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Hard hands, loving kick in the ass. It's because I love you. I love you and care about you, but respectfully, you can do better.
What kind of kick is that? Is that a donkey kick or a side kick, or what can they expect?
I feel like you're envisioning some gymnastic skater move right now, and it's probably less clear than that. I would love to take a whole group of people to like a trampoline park one day. We can call that wellness day and just go jump around like kids. I mean, something if you want to do that, I guess.
Trampoline park.
No, but in all reality, I'm excited for this community. I'm excited for the conferences that are going to be happening in person, as well as having the digital platform as well. The cool thing about ADB Nation is that it removes the barrier between somebody who wants to learn and giving them access to the instructors and the people who are actually coming to teach them. Or even if they can't even get to a class yet, you still have access to those people, which in the past has been tough, because somebody who wants to go find training, especially being where I'm at in rural Oklahoma, it's like, well, you get emails of like, hey, here's this free local training, or hey, here's this. And it's like, it's never anything of substance. And then you get one email from the instructor and then they never respond to you. And it's like, nothing really happens. So the platform is cool. And then I know these conferences are going to be awesome too. It's going to be different from your normal law enforcement or first responder conference, because God bless my husband. There's one here in Tulsa that happens every year, and he's like, I dread going back this year because everybody just got hammered drunk and I don't really want to go be around that. And I'm like, yeah. And then there's more stories about, and yeah, I won't get into details. We all know what happens at those conferences. It's not great. But yeah, having a positive outlet where people aren't just meeting to vent and drink. It's, hey, let's go for a walk and talk about solutions to our problems and actually get actionable tips to work through those things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of events, you guys have your women's event coming up in, well, I'm going to say a few months. It's going to come. Time flies faster every day, I'm pretty sure. I'm like, oh, I've got time. And then it's 4 months later. I'm like, oh, shit, it's here.
Yes, I feel the same.
So tell me about that. What's the event you got coming up?
So we have the women's conference here in Atlanta, Georgia. Super excited about that. I was raised by essentially a single mom, strong single mom, and my sister. So I'm a big advocate. I was professionally raised by an awesome, at the time, sergeant that taught me how to be an undercover and how to be a cop. That was my first. But at the same time, more importantly, being a badass. She was probably about 5 foot, but was a badass, and that was important to me. And it's important that we advocate for the women, because we need them. That old way of doing things, it doesn't focus on the success of the mission. And that's what we're super focused on, the success of the mission. And our mission, besides the folks that are serving in this profession, is to take care of the public. And it may not always be Dan and I. That may not be the best fit, it's probably going to be, Monica or somebody, like her that has a different, flavor. And we need to make sure we harness that and solutions that we never even thought of because we don't think like that. So it's super important that we really advocate and promote, women. Again, not just talking, but solutions and kind of, let's handle some of these issues that we're just kind of dancing around. Well, it's not really an issue. It is. Let's attack it. Let's get to it, and let's get to the solution. And let's be a bunch of badasses. So,
Yeah, definitely. Well, that woman you're just describing, you need so many more leaders like her to
Yep.
be that example for women in law enforcement. I've heard horror stories, not just Monica's, of
Yep.
terrible experiences where they were just bullied out of the profession. But women offer such a unique skill set. And unfortunately, we're held to this double standard where it's like, well, you either get to be likable or you get to be competent. Which do you want to be? And if you're competent, you're also a bitch.
Yes, I've seen that. I've seen that plenty of times out there, and it is unfortunate, and that's part of the culture change that we need to do. We need to make it happen. I mean, women in law enforcement has arrived generally in the country in the 1970s, and it's time to get to the next level at this point. Women are in this environment, and they should be afforded the opportunity to go out there and do the job to their own, their own style. As a supervisor on the street, there's plenty of, I was fortunate enough to have, men and women, a good mix from the people that I was working with. And it's, you're sort of a maestro, if you would. Sometimes you need, the horn section. Sometimes you need the string section. Different people have different approaches, and they can solve problems in a better fashion. And, it's not just the sexual assaults that are the thing, because we always rely on women to handle the sexual assault jobs. That's not the case. I could tell you about a million stories about women saving my life, beating the hell out of somebody that was choking me, blowing some guy's teeth out the back of his head, shooting hot lead over my shoulder. I got stories like that all day. I got 20 years of women saving my ass. So I'm good with them in the job. And anybody that has a problem with it, they can quit. There's plenty of room at the widget factory for them.
For all the tools.
Exactly.
We're not,
Yeah,
and we're not making any. We're not making any excuses. We're holding everybody to a high standard, and because they're out there, and so they are. We definitely want that elite level, and that means guys got to raise your game. Everybody's got to raise their game. To your point, we're definitely not soft at all, and I think Monica would appreciate that if there's guys that she's probably just have smoked in the past, and we all need to raise our game here.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the differences between men and women and how they respond to, specifically in patrol work. It's funny, I've experienced that obviously firsthand with myself, but I'm married to a cop. We met at that department. And the funny thing is we knew our response to the same call would be wildly different. And it depended on who was primary on the call, how that call was going to go. Because since our seniority badge, our badge numbers were 2 numbers apart, which is another ironic thing. But because our seniority was about the same, we went to a lot of the same calls together. And there were times where we would get there and he would strong arm them into cuffs. And then there were other times where I would be on a call separate from him. And our code for run code to us was step it up. And there was one time he was across the city and I called that, and his coworker goes, "What do you think she did, man? Do you think she tased her?" He goes, "Oh no, I bet she went hands on." Yep, I did. So we got to the point where we could predict what each other did and how we responded. You got a big, strong guy, they can get away with that. They can sit on somebody and handcuff them with one hand. It's fine. But you get me, who's a 5'3", 150, 160 pound female, I'm going to talk your ear off to death until you force me to go hands on with you. And I knew that. I knew that was a strength of mine. I had another call like that too, where we ended up having to tase somebody, but I did a dance with them in a hotel lobby, walking around, just trying to get him to chill out until he stuck his finger in my face, and then the game was on. So it's just, there's different strengths and weaknesses that serves a purpose for everybody. And I think once you recognize that, it's going to better help response rates to calls. And it also can help probably with less uses of force as well too. If you have somebody who knows they can de-escalate pretty well, which I took pride in that and said, yeah, I can probably de-escalate pretty well given the situation. You know, it helps everybody out that way.
Yes, especially in this day and age, you want to de-escalate as much as possible. This isn't, you know, the old days, and you know that doesn't work anymore. There's there's more than one ways to skin a cat, and de-escalation is the flavor of the month. So you might as well adopt it and hone your craft in that sphere if you can. And since everything's on camera now, that's great, because guess what? We tried to de-escalate for 15 minutes, and the person kept coming after us or what have you, or whatever we did, and now we crack them in the head. Oh well. And there's not one person on planet Earth that has one brain cell in their head that can say those officers didn't do everything that they could to de-escalate that situation. And I think that we can learn from each other, men and women, on ways to do that, to engage in with people that are out there. Because again, it's, you know, these are different flavors of ice cream, and there's plenty of people that are out here that are different, and responses are going to be different. You know, and it's how do we resolve these issues as quickly as possible, as safely as possible, so that we all return home in the same way we showed up to work in.
Yeah, definitely. And I would certainly support the de-escalation, but I'm always going to be the first person to defend what an officer did. It's like, I'm sure they had a good reason for it. And if the public is, you know, they're not typically that smart. And so they're going to just judge whatever CNN told them, and decide for themselves whatever CNN told them to think. But how do you guys feel about constantly being monitored and everything you do getting picked apart, and where you're not just allowed to make a decision and defend it as that's what your gut said to do?
Wow, that's a tough question, but I welcome it, because the one thing that I thoroughly enjoyed was having the cameras, because by having the cameras, and you know, a lot of people shied away from it. They oh, I didn't turn it on or what have you, and that's, first off, you're violating policy, so you're going to get jammed up right there. Turn the camera on so that you can make sure that you have this event from soup to nuts. When your ass is in the car and you're going to that assignment, turn the camera on. Turn it on. It'll cover you for the lights and sirens that you're traveling and how you're driving. Don't drive like a maniac with your hair on fire. Go in Mach 5. You're going to get in an accident. You're going to get in trouble that way. Or kill somebody. You know, and then when you get on scene, it's not going to be the last snippet of the person showing you, you know, shooting somebody. It's going to be the beginning to the end. So like Monica said about the de-escalation portion, she de-escalated as much as she can until the guy got too close, put a finger in her face, and you got zapped. Oh, well, now you got electrocuted. Too bad. Now you deserved it. Good for you. You know? So, and everybody that get 99% of the people that I've gotten in physical confrontations with, 99% of them, as soon as it's over, they're like, yeah, you were right. And I'm like, dude, why do we have to do that? Now we're all bloody, beaten up. We're all at the hospital. You know, the doctors and nurses are looking at me like, I'm like, come on. But it is, and it documents the whole thing. So when people start saying things, you know, oh, this officer had, you know, their use of force went off the rails. You just look back to the video and you said, well, what would you do? Absolutely, you know, you didn't pick it. Here's my gun and badge. Go ahead, ride out with us. They won't.
Yeah, that keeps everyone accountable then.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be great though if the standards were, you know, just more reasonable, more fair? I mean, like we have such a low, you know, low threshold for error. And you know, Danny and I were talking about this the other day. Last year there were 1,400 deaths, you know, caused at the hands of law enforcement. But there were 238,000 deaths at the hands of medical personnel that were considered malpractice. Now, that's pretty bad, but also consider the fact that we had 2 million encounters. When was the last time we had an encounter with, you know, a doctor? So if they had 2 million encounters, imagine how high that number would be. You don't see people protesting and saying, you guys are Nazis, you kill people all the time. But us, come on. It's ridiculous because we're scapegoats. You can't sit there and, you know, bash a doctor. They're going to fight back. Us, all day long. And we don't get to talk back. The mayor, you know, sorry, there's a memo from the mayor says you guys can't say anything. How about you defend us? How about you, you know, talk about how well you trained us? How about that? I don't know. That's novel, but we don't. So
That comes back to money talking, right? Those pharmaceutical companies, they got everybody under wraps. and they don't want to
Yeah.
lose that. So
Right.
That's my
Right.
theory.
Yeah. Sorry. I had 2 instances where my body cam cleared me of 2 complaints, which was a benefit of that. One of which was, what did they even call it? It was like an informal internal affairs thing where it was investigated on the captain or shift level, not full blown IA. The whole deal ended up being a dispatch error. They didn't give me the information I needed on the call. And then I got complained on because I didn't serve a warrant when I didn't have the info that I needed during the time of the call. And because of my body cam and the timestamps, they were able to line up what I said as far as when dispatch relayed the info, what info they relayed, and of course go get back all those recordings and stuff from dispatch too, to make it make sense and be like, yeah, she didn't have the info she needed, and we're going to clear you of that.
Wait, I'm
Same
sorry.
thing with
Can
the
I ask-
Tuscany.
What was the issue on that? What were they upset about?
It was a busy Saturday in front of Lowe's. It was like 3-4 o'clock in front of a Lowe's on a Saturday. We had a guy who was just causing a disturbance. He was trying to return something at the customer service counter. Was causing a disturbance, getting irate for one reason or another. I get that resolved. We get him out front. We're talking to him, and I'm just trying to run him and clear him and kick him loose. Well, during that time, I actually built some pretty good rapport with him. I get him calmed down. He's chatting with me. Well, now he's starting to pick up on the fact that we're BSing with him because I'm waiting on something else. Come to find out after the fact, he had history of assault on a peace officer, which I didn't get while I was on the call. He also had an active warrant for, I think it was violating a protective order during that interaction. None of that got relayed to me while I was on the call. And there was about 10 minutes that went by that we're BSing with this guy, waiting for dispatch. And he's starting to ramp back up at this point. And I'm like, if we go hands-on with this guy, it's gonna be a fight. Like, I think he's gonna fight us if we go hands-on with him. Well, his wife or girlfriend or somebody had pulled up and was like, hey, get in the car, we're leaving. And at first we're like, no, he's not free to go. And actually I looked at everybody and said, you know what? Leave. Get in the car and leave. Problem solved. Disturbance over. We resolved the issue of the call. The disturbance. He's gone. They came back after he left and was like, hey, he's got a warrant. I was like, well, that sucks. He's gone. Sorry, you don't get 15 minutes to confirm a warrant hit. Last I checked. How that got reported was that another county called in because I guess somehow they caught wind that he had violated that protective order somehow, and we didn't serve it. So it looked like we knew about it and then didn't serve it. And so this other agency called it in and reported it. And then, of course, the mess with my sergeant and chain of command thinking that I had cowardice in decision making because I didn't go hands-on with him when actually I was properly de-escalating something. But yeah, it was a whole dispatch thing, but it got cleared with the help of that body cam, being able to line all that out.
That was their default. That was their default setting instead of, hey, we assume that, she's doing the job right. That's where we're set up right now. We're looking to, get people in trouble. We're looking to, instead of training and pour it into our folks, and it's just ridiculous. It's hard enough. These guys can attest to how many times they've gotten, hey, I need to talk to you. Your heart starts racing. Are you kidding me? It's like the stuff that we do, whether on purpose or by accident, it's just silly. It's just so dumb that we can, it's hard enough. It is hard enough. We got to do better.
Well, the bigger issue within that agency too was that, of course, him and one other sergeant were brand new sergeants when they took this complaint. It was probably the first complaint they ever fielded as a sergeant. I called him ahead of time to tell him what happened. I was like, hey, here's the rundown of what happened. He's like, okay, great. Well, he heard that I chose not to go hands-on for my own reasons and interpreted that in a negative way. But at that agency, they would not kick a complaint. They took every complaint that came in and they investigated every complaint because they give more value to the person complaining than they did their own officers. So everybody got hemmed up in stupid stuff like that because that one complaint they investigated on me, that other one, thankfully, that we had a sergeant that had been a sergeant for a long enough time that he kicked it, was like, nope, you can go kick rocks because of X, Y, and Z. But that was few and far between when they'd actually be like, nope, we're not going to take this complaint, because we had to be the customer service agency that did everything for everybody. And if you called us, then we're going to take a report, whether it needs a report or not. And those types of things. So they cared more about our image and the community service of it than they did actually defending what we did.
Wow. Yeah, I can testify to that. I've had that same experience, and I think it's the way that the way that the agency handles these complaints. There's going to be complaints. You're out there, and nobody wants to be put in a steel cage. Nobody wants to be told that they have to leave or what have you. You're talking to grown adults and telling them to get the hell out of here. I don't like when people tell me what to do. I never liked that. Even when I was a small child, I wouldn't like that. However, there's certain times when us as law enforcement, that's our job to do. We need, you have a disturbance at Lowe's, it's time to get out of here. And then when things go off the rails, it's all automatically, well, you were wrong. Instead of saying, hold up, let's evaluate the situation. Let's look at things before I call the officer into the office. I can look at the body cam footage. As soon as it gets uploaded to the cloud, you can look at it in 5 seconds, watch the whole thing, and see, what happened, rather than just launching into, you were a coward. Like, Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's so weird to me,
So stupid. But our default setting is appeasement. Like, and here's the other thing. Okay, let's say that it's your strategy. When has that ever paid off? You'll never make the public, happy, especially the ones that are screaming about it. They never, no matter what we want a parade. Okay, here's your parade. Well, we wanted it to be bigger. I'm not saying that we don't we're not open and hear, people, but you've got it flipped. They keep saying these stupid things that they don't understand. Like, well, it's like we run like a business. No, you don't. Because if I ran, this the way I run my business, we'd be bankrupt. And you don't understand what's most valuable. The most valuable is asset that you have. It's your people, and you can't appease, because it will never work. It will never work. You have no standards, so you're reactionary all the time. What are we trying to do? No one sat down and said, this is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it, and here are our standards. And if something goes wrong, okay, we'll be transparent. But other than that, what kind of message are you sending to Monica and everybody else? That's so stupid. It's so dumb.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and that's an attitude to have when you're maybe 20 and don't know yourself and don't know how the world works. But we're all adults here, and you guys have been in the trenches doing this work. The public doesn't even know what they want, and they don't know what's good for them, and you probably do. And so make better judgment calls. Be the leader that we need.
Right.
Absolutely. It's about, like Richard Branson said, take care of your employees and they'll take care of your business. Take care of your cops and they'll take care of the people in the street. Know that when you come back into the station house that you're there in a protected environment where I can sit down and eat my peanut butter and jelly sandwich with the crust cut off without having somebody over my shoulder screaming and yelling at me because I didn't cross a T or dot an I. And the same person never did anything in their career. Like, come on, bro.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. If you guys could go back in time and speak to your past self that was just getting started with what you're building, what would you tell
them? That's a fantastic question. What would I tell my younger self? I would tell my younger self to take better care of yourself, right? Physically, emotionally, spiritually. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself in that aspect, as well as your future. Like I said earlier, I mean, there's this illusion that your pension, at least I had the illusion. I can speak for myself. I mean, I had an illusion of, I'm going to get a pension. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to retire when I'm 50 or something. And that just was not the case. So you have to get your finances together. I mean, I saved. I didn't splurge on anything. I didn't buy anything crazy. I didn't buy a bunch of crazy cars and boats and stuff. I paid the bills. But by the same token, to do long-term investing and think about your financial future would have been a lot more of a stress reliever for me, because it was one of the things that I stressed about. And to, I guess, try to promote earlier, after you have a couple years on. But I was a glutton for punishment, so I enjoyed being out on the street. So I probably wouldn't have listened to my future self so much.
I mean, if my future self, I'd listen to her.
Nice.
Yeah. You would too. You would listen to your future self. And once you got over the shock that, hey, that's future me.
I'd be like, man, what happened to you, bro? Dude.
Yeah.
What's up with the gray hair, man? You were blonde, man. You were blonde. Oh, funny.
Yeah. I don't know if I would go back and change anything necessarily. It's been a crazy ride, and it's got me to where I am today. I'm the person who I am today. And the funny full circle thing about it is that when I got into law enforcement in that specific agency, my goal was always to make it back out to training so that I could help develop officers with ongoing training and also within the academies. And essentially, I've built that for myself now. It's just from the outside looking in a different capacity of being able to train and teach and speak and help mentor those people as well. The main message I have, there's two. One is stay true to yourself. Don't lose yourself for anybody in this field. You matter more than a career, point blank. I know it's tough because we get lost in the I'm a cop, I wear a badge, I am this thing 24/7. When in reality you're not. Don't lose yourself for the profession, which could be another indicator of why suicide is a thing also. Since we talked about that. And go seek environments, whether personal or professional, where you're valued, respected, and supported. Because your environment matters, the people around you matters, and there's no reason you should settle for anything less. There's times in my personal and professional life where I put up with those things that I knew my intuition was telling me this isn't right. You shouldn't be giving this person another chance. You shouldn't be giving this agency another chance. That might be the only thing I wish I would have listened to my intuition a little bit better. Now I definitely am in tune with my intuition. But yeah, go where you're valued, supported, and respected, and stay true to yourself.
Yeah, yes.
What about you, Monty?
Travel more. I was way into the job, loved it, dream job. I, created the situation where I could get to where I wanted to go and do the things, and I was just thinking, I didn't travel as much as I really should have, but I will in the future because the future self came to me and said that. So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
I like it. Awesome. You guys, thank you so much. This was very enjoyable. Anything else you guys want to add, ask, talk about?
Well, I am fascinated by what you are building, and where do you see it going?
Well, we want to be the go-to place for all female gun owners. We're the voice in the gathering place for the armed woman.
Yeah.
And so that includes a lot of different pieces, which we are building out. But yeah, I want to be the household name for any woman who's looking to go buy a gun. She knows you can come to Wagoa and we got you covered. Whether you're looking for the right gun for you, a shooting group to practice with, other women who feel the same way, regular instruction, tactical instruction, we cover it all. Because I really feel, as you guys know, extremely let down by the entire industry. It's pathetic. It's laughable, and I'm shocked and appalled that this is where we're at with this. And so we have to make it better. And that it's winding up being a behemoth of a project, which I kind of knew, but I kind of didn't know at the same time.
Yeah. Does that excite you, or does that concern you? Like, it seems like
it's the challenge.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, but does that excite you? You're like, holy crap.
Yeah, it's excitement for sure. It's also like, whoa, okay. Yeah, I know that we're up for it, and we're just getting better all the time. I think the most exciting thing for me is the personal growth that I've had to go through. As painful as it's been, anyone who says this is not painful is lying.
They're lying.
Yeah, just learning to speak on camera is just like
Yeah.
so difficult if you've never done that before. Learning how to put a script together for how's your event going to look? You need an event description. You need emails that don't sound stupid. You need imagery and so much of it. Where are you going to even get that? Like one problem after the other I've had to solve, and through all of those I've had to develop myself personally as well as professionally. So each year I become a better businesswoman and a better mom and a better wife, and it's all because I'm focused on building something bigger than myself. And so yeah, I can definitely
Yes.
thank Lagoa for that.
That's fantastic. It's all about the journey. It's about the
It
journey.
is.
It's about the personal growth.
Yeah.
And that you're able to do something to help other people out and get these females that want those firearms, that want to be able to be, tactically sound, and giving them those educational opportunities to say, yes, you can do it. So many people I run into, men and women, don't even realize that they're able to carry guns. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is the United States of America. You don't have to read too far to get to number 2 in the amendments. It is what it is. Get to the second line. That's all.
Well, our culture is broken when it comes to firearms, so we're looking to change
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So
Totally agree.
before I just want to I want to hear about your thoughts on that.
On the culture being broken when it comes to firearms?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, American culture is so sensitive and triggered now that you even mention something that's strong and puts you on even fighting ground with someone that's bigger than you, faster than you, that gives you a chance for survival. It freaks them out. And, you wouldn't know it, but I live in an open carry state. You think you see anyone open carrying? You don't. And it scares people. We get 911 calls. They're like, there's a guy with a gun on his hip. I'm like, holstered?
Yeah.
And
right.
So yeah, people just they don't know. There's a lack of education, and there's also a lack of support and visibility for really good instruction and leadership within the firearms community, because we're still, I didn't know this when we first started out. We built Wagoa because I thought that women who were just learning to get a gun and just starting out would want a community that they could tap into. Turns out the market's not very big for that. And if it is, then they're very quiet. They don't join right away. That's not where the business comes in. And so it's the leadership that we have to foster, which is similar to what you guys are building, right? You have to have that leadership and give them a voice so that we can change the culture together.
Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about is empowering people, and that's the thing. Like, for the last 4 years, we've been taught, like, oh, don't challenge any thought. Don't think outside. Like, I'm okay with you having a different point of view. I'm okay with it. I can handle it. I might even like it. But for the last 4+ years, we haven't. We've been very thin-skinned, and I'm looking for freedom to get back here. I'm looking for people to have creative, thoughts, instead of being so sensitive and so, like, they're not even progressively thinking about, like, the reality.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So.
Well, and I have to be a bit thankful for all this happening, though, because it's what is driving this explosion of creativity and betterment of our society from people like you and me. Like, I wouldn't be motivated to do this if I didn't have my entire life torn apart. And then to suddenly not be able to say what I really thought. And everyone's like, shush, don't say that. That's not, we don't do that. And I'm like, who doesn't do that? I do.
Yeah.
How come I can't speak? But you can? And why are we whispering?
Right. Right. Scary.
Absolutely.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope that you put a gun in the hand of the next teacher who takes down a school shooter.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I was on a state training team for active shooter. It's called Laser, and that's the one thing. I mean, you got us coming running at you to training people how to respond to active shooters, but people are already in the building with the shooter, and if they have a damn gun and they know how to use it, they can end it a lot quicker than we can if we're being realistic.
Yeah.
Sure can. And it takes the training. It takes the mentality. It takes the dedication to go out there and again, it's about leveling up. It's about making yourself a better person. How do you make yourself a better person? take courses in handling the firearm so that you can adequately put down an assailant.
Yep, it's not as
Yep.
scary as you think. It always sounds scary to someone who hasn't done it, but it's not bad. Just get yourself a good instructor, find someone that you trust, or ask someone that is involved with it. Who do you recommend? It might not be the person you're asking, and get started. Get your hands dirty.
Right.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much. This is a really fun interview. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Amara.
Let's talk soon.
It was a very great conversation. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks.